Hello, everyone. Welcome. Yet again.
Yeah. Another week of the Taco Bell podcast, and we actually got some news stories this week.
Yeah, like someone flipped the switch somewhere to where there's like an abundance of gaming news and tech news that we got to discuss here today. So it's going to be... Dude, it's been a while since I felt this way with news stories, ever since the virus outbreak.
For sure. I was honestly surprised at how much has actually been going on. It's a nice change.
Yeah. So maybe that's a good thing. You know, like we said a couple weeks ago, I think, since China is kind of like at the end of their coronavirus outbreak epidemic thing, we'll see a lot of, gaming and tech news start to pick up because a lot of it originates from over there, especially the tech news, with integrated circuits being produced in China, a vast majority of the world's integrated circuits. So we'll see here. I think episode 16.
I believe you're right, sir.
Season 2, episode 16. Lots of good stuff. Lots of I don't know what's going on for your, the summary of your gaming news, but in the tech news, we definitely have lots of AMD news. We definitely have a lot of just like PC news in general, like consumer PC news. Lots of exciting stuff there to go over. What's a summary of the gaming news for this week?
Gaming news, we got some Mario Maker 2 news. We got some, PAX West news. Some updates on some delays, some not delays. So all around, a lot of looking up. Not so much with the negatives this week, which is nice.
Yeah, a nice turnaround for sure. All right, so let's jump right into the news section here, starting with the tech. As I said, we have lots of AMD news, but we'll actually start it up with some Intel news, actually. And it's not really anything exciting for Intel. It's actually kind of a bummer, because recent reports have told people, or really everyone, that counterfeit Intel CPUs are making their way around China. Third-party sellers and shopkeepers are trying to RMA core CPUs, which are basically just like fake CPUs that have like the Intel logo etched on the IHS, the metal part in the top, with no actual CPU dies underneath it. So it's literally just a piece of circuit board with the metal plate on top. So that's really sad. So yeah, that's been there's a huge spike in that going on right now in China. Although it is nothing new, counterfeit and fake CPU scams have been going on for a long time now in China in particular, and it makes its way out to the U.S. and other places that try to source things directly from China. But usually it's the customers who fall victim to these illegal activities, if you want to call it that. But the new thing about this wave of counterfeit Intel CPUs is that it looks like even major tech companies are falling prey to the fake CPU scams. So essentially, what's happening is that third-party sellers in China have been like through a huge wave of trying to RMA these fake CPUs directly to Intel, and so Intel has been slowing down their RMA process because they have let some of these fake CPUs go through the process. So the counterfeiters have been successful in some cases. So and this hasn't happened only to Intel. This has happened with AMD processors in the past too. But what happens is that that these the way that the fake sellers or the third-party resellers do it is that they will have a fake CPU on hand. They will order a real CPU from Intel. The real CPU comes to them. They switch out the CPUs in the box, so they keep the real CPU and then put the fake CPU in the box, and then ask for an RMA, so they return it to Intel saying that it wasn't the CPU that they ordered. So they end up for free with an Intel CPU, basically, because they put the fake one in the box and returned it to Intel.
Dang.
That's nuts, dude.
That's dirty.
That's absolutely dirty. And, like, it's hard to tell because, you can't really tell unless you have, like, an X-ray machine, literally, because that's how you can look through the chip itself and see, all the underlying leads, the circuitry leads weaved into the board itself, and also see the die. And the only way to do that without really, like, X-raying it is to just crack the CPU open, is to remove that IHS on the top. So incredibly complicated, incredibly dirty, in my opinion. And it actually, it's convincing. Some of these counterfeits, they're really, really convincing. So it's like, dang, like, am I gonna get a fake CPU if I order it from Intel? Because they don't know.
Well, luckily we don't order Intel.
Yeah, we order AMD. Yeah, we're AMD fanboys here in this podcast, and that's completely my fault because Ruben comes to me for tech advice sometimes, and I just say go AMD, just go AMD. And as far as I can tell, you've been pretty happy with that suggestion so far.
Oh yeah, for sure.
AMD's cranking out good shit here. And so the audience won't see this quick, but this is actually one of the poorer Intel counterfeits out there. And so that's what a counterfeit looks like. It's pretty normal, but that's actually a sticker, and so that's what it looks like. And so you can peel the sticker away, and you can clearly see that it's like a counterfeit because of the sticker. So some counterfeits are better than others. The one that I just showed you right here is not a good counterfeit, but one of the good counterfeits, or one of the better counterfeits really here, but still not a good one. That's a side by side with the fake Intel CPU on the left and then the one on the right there. So it's all about like logo placement, where on the CPU the specifications of the CPU is listed, a bunch of things like that. So there's little specifics like that you have to look out for if you're sourcing your parts straight from China, which I would not recommend at all, because I used to buy things straight from China from AliExpress, like sweaters and shoes and a bunch of weird stuff, but never electronics or computer parts because I just never trusted them. So let that be a lesson to those of you out there who are buying CPUs straight from China. Beware, because you might just get a counterfeit dud that's literally just a piece of plastic.
If the price looks way too good to be true, it usually is.
Yep. And I learned that shopping from China directly. But then other times it's not so bad, like paying $5 for 100 pack of mini rubber duckies. I did that. Hid them all around the house, put one in the toilet. It was awesome. Should have seen everyone's face when they were finding these little rubber duckies everywhere. Inside of boxes of cereal. Where else? In the oven.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. But that's not electronics. But that's enough about Intel scams running in China. The next story here is actually a really interesting story. Not super like exciting, but definitely interesting. And that's a rumor that came out around April 15th that Lenovo is going to enter the motherboard market under its Legion gaming brand. So there's a couple of pictures that were leaked here of a Legion by Lenovo branded motherboard. You can see a couple of pictures of that right there, Ruben. And so I don't know if you've seen like their Legion laptops or anything like that, but their Legion laptops are actually really good looking laptops. I almost bought one, to be honest.
I like that.
And I would have if I didn't find my current laptop on sale. But so I just showed Ruben the pictures of the leaked motherboard there. These motherboards don't look too fantastic. It's a standard black PCB with the power phases on the motherboard being an 8+2 power phase delivery system. It has dual M.2 connectors, 4 RAM slots or 4 DIMM modules, Wi-Fi, and just regular dome audio capacitors on there. It only has one PCIe 16X slot on there, and not a lot of I/O on the back, like for USBs or SPDIFs or the things that usually would be on the back of motherboards. So it's a pretty standard motherboard for today's standards. supposedly, especially for Legion, which is Lenovo's gaming brand. Like, they have Legion laptops, they have Legion desktops even. Very beautiful machines, you know, from like the hardware perspective, but performance is, you know, not leading the category per se. It's also pretty much like, pretty much not confirmed, but heavily speculated that it's not going to be a motherboard that you can just buy outright, you know, to build with. Most likely it's going to make its way to, a Lenovo Legion desktop or something like that. That's that with that motherboard. Also on the motherboard is that there's heat sinks for the VRMs, there's heat sinks on the power delivery, and the chipset there too. So, there's good stuff. It has good coverage, it has good heat management like any good board would have nowadays. So we'll see if it makes its way to a new Legion branded PC here in the future. All right. AMD news. We have really 2 AMD stories to cover today. Most of them were rumors up until today, actually, or last night. But the first thing that we'll cover here is that AMD has officially announced a new, quote-unquote, new series of their Ryzen 3 processors, which is super exciting because Ryzen 3 is the lowest end of the Ryzen family. So, and the interesting thing about this is that the Ryzen 3s have basically been ignored since the first generation of Ryzen. And we're coming up and we're waiting for essentially the 4th generation of Ryzen at the end of this year. So, pretty neglected family of CPUs. I believe the first generation of Ryzen had the Ryzen 3 1200, Ryzen 3, 1500, and then the 1500X, which were like 4-core, 8-thread parts of Ryzen, if I remember correctly. Or one of them was 4-core, 4 threads, and then one of them was 4-core, 8-thread. The latest iteration of the Ryzen 3, quote unquote, was the Ryzen 3 3200G, which was the Ryzen processor released 2 years ago. Now I want to say, with integrated Vega graphics on the chip. So the Ryzen 3 family has been pretty ignored as of late. But this latest confirmation here from AMD promises the new Ryzen 3 3300X and the Ryzen 3 3100. So to kind of go over those those chips here and the price charts directly from AMD, the Ryzen 3 3100 processor will debut brand new for $99. So it's a $100 chip, and the specs on it aren't too shabby. It's going to be a 4-core, 8-thread chip with a base clock of 3.6 gigahertz and a boost clock of 3.9 gigahertz. It has 2 megabytes of level 2 cache, 16 gigabytes of level 3 cache, which is really good for a chip of that size. It also has a TDP of 65 watts, so it's a fairly low power CPU. That's all these specs right there that I just listed, really solid for a $99 CPU.
Yeah.
If you look back 3 years to 2017's Intel Core i7 7700K, their like flagship, like mainstream gaming desktop CPU that cost $450, I believe. It was also a 4-core, 8-thread CPU just 3 years ago, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Now we've come this far in tech in such little time, in my opinion. And I say that because I'm fairly young, so I haven't really seen tech really progress like some of my seniors that have literally seen, corded phones on the wall to smartphones. So that's one thing there. But moving on here, the higher end of the new Ryzen 3 CPUs is the Ryzen 3 3300X, which is also a 4-core, 8-thread CPU with a base frequency of 3.8 gigahertz, up from the one below it, which is 3.6, and it boosts up to 4.3 gigahertz. So that's a significant amount of boost there for that chip. Everything else about the chips are pretty much exactly the same. The same 2 megabytes of level 2 cache, the same 16 megabytes of level 3 cache, and a 65 watt TDP. But this chip will run you $120. So, you're paying that $20 premium for this chip, which essentially comes down to this chip being what's called a higher bin than the 3100, which means it's the same chip, but it's guaranteed to perform better, just from the nature of manufacturing a CPU. So that's going to be interesting. I think a lot of people are going to hop on the 3100 real fast because it should be a really good value for gaming. That's my prediction, because I kind of want to buy it, not gonna lie. Especially with the Ryzen 5 3600 being such a popular processor and being a 6-core 12-thread, and it's frequently on sale for like $175, $180, even though the MSRP is $200 on it. I feel that people who want to game and like create content like video editing or music editing will go for the Ryzen 5 3600, while people who are strictly gaming will go for the Ryzen 3 3100 or the 3300. Also, if you're streaming, the Ryzen 5 3600 is probably the better deal, because it could handle the game and the stream at the same time.
Do you see them going more for that rather than the Ryzen 5 2600? Because I want to say when that's on sale, that's usually about 127, 128.
Yeah, so that's the other interesting part about the story, and I'm glad you asked that because it's a great transition. Yeah, so the Ryzen 5 2600 right now is going for like 120, right? Sometimes for like 110. If you find it on, like a flash sale or something. Before the Ryzen 2600, the Ryzen 5 2600 went on sale, you could find what was called the Ryzen 5 1600 AF. What that is that it's essentially a first gen. It's labeled as a first gen Ryzen 5 1600 chip, but the difference is that the AF version was created on the 12 nanometer lithography, whereas the first generation Ryzen was on the 14 nanometer lithography. So it's essentially just an updated first generation Ryzen chip. That has less level 3 cache than the second generation Ryzen, but was made on the same processing node as a second generation. So you were essentially getting a second gen Ryzen for $85 in some cases. It would still lose to the 2600, sometimes when it was first announced that the Ryzen 5 1500 or 1600 AF was released, it was like MSRPing at $85. Everyone jumped on it immediately, and then it jumped up in price to like $99 or $105. So in a lot of cases, the 2600 made a lot of sense. But when it was $85, everyone was jumping on it, man. So really, AMD is their own worst competition right now.
Yeah.
Because they're just releasing so many good value products that span pretty much every $10.
I was going to say, too, at the same time, I could see them selling the cheaper one, not only for people who are, like, budgeting, but, like, people who build PCs and then resell them. Like, you could sell a solid gaming PC using that part and make more money than if you were to buy the Ryzen 5 26. So, I mean, I guess I get it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, and then not only just individual people doing that, buying the parts, building a PC and selling it, but also just boutique PC builders like CyberPower, like iBuyPower, like Digital Storm, all these places that pre-build a computer and ship it out to you. They could benefit from that as well. So it's an interesting market right now for sure. One thing that I definitely see people buying the Ryzen 3 3100 and 3300X over the other ones for is PCIe Gen 4 support. Because only the latest third generation Ryzen CPUs support PCIe Gen 4 for those blazing fast SSD speeds that are PCIe Gen 4 as well. And that actually leads me to my next story, which is rumors or confirmations of AMD's next budget board line, the B550 boards. Now, a long time ago, the B550 boards were rumored to come out this summer. But apparently AMD wasn't happy with a lot of the chip designs, for the chipset on the boards. And then, of course, they weren't released right away because AMD was only supporting PCIe Gen 4 on their X570 boards. So they didn't want to cannibalize the sales from their own X570 boards. So there was a delay in that. But now, AMD has seemingly, have confirmed that the B550 boards will be coming in June, and these new B550 boards will support PCIe Gen 4, which is awesome, in my opinion. About freaking time too. So I definitely see, as far as details that we have on the B550 boards, we don't really have a lot quite yet, other than the B550 boards, will be the mid tier, because you have the A boards, which is what you bought recently, and then you have the B boards, like the B450s, which is what you have in our streaming computer, in our podcast recording computer, and then you have the X570 boards, which are like $200 plus boards. And those currently are the only ones that support PCIe Gen 4, but these B550 boards, which tend to be, on the lower end, $80, $90 boards, all the way up to like $150, $170 boards, with those not celebrating, I'm celebrating, with those supporting PCIe Gen 4, it's going to be awesome, because that's going to open up a whole market to content creators, basically people who render video, people who edit video, people who need super fast data transfer speeds that currently are blocked by essentially a paywall, because one, PCIe 4 SSDs are nasty expensive right now. Nasty expensive. I'm talking like $200 for like a 512 gigabyte PCIe like SSD. And then if you're editing video, you're going to need to handle a lot more data than that, right? But what I can see people doing is buying a $99 Ryzen 3100 CPU, pairing it with a $90 or $100 B550 motherboard, and then essentially, having like a budget build for like $600 or $700 that can get them streaming, that can get them editing video, that can get them rendering things. Of course, if you slap a GPU in there as well, but doing it at a pace that's really, really quick, because you can pair it with a PCIe Gen 4 SSD in there. That's gonna be awesome. That's what I want to do. That's honestly what I want to do, because I think it'll be great. Only time will tell. Again, this is just a rumor that it's going to be released in June for B550. The chips were supported and announced by AMD, but this B550 is just a rumor last time I saw. So I'm really excited to see these B550 boards really come alive, mainly because, I stand corrected. June 16th, 2020 is when the B550 boards will be arriving. So really close here, actually, and I'm surprised that it's still going on with this whole coronavirus thing going on.
Yeah.
But this must have been something that's we know it's been something that's been in the works for a while now, like almost a year. So I'm really excited about it. When the X570 boards came around, there was like something like 55 boards that you could buy on X570 compared to like 20 something for X470. The previous generation. So for the B550 boards, I'm expecting a lot of boards to be released by Asus, Gigabyte, MSI, all these brands that we know and love. And I'm personally more excited to see more ITX boards, because I'm an ITX fanboy, and I want to see more cheap B550 ITX boards, because the board that I want for ITX is currently $450. But it's like the top end, like Asus, like freaking balls to the wall, like it's ridiculous, the board that I want to get. And so I'm hoping to find more affordable, well, not even more affordable, just more ITX boards. Because currently there's like 5 I can choose from that are still available for AMD. So I am excited to see how many ITX boards come out of the B550 line, because that's what I'm going to be gunning for personally.
Only time will tell, sir.
June, so soon, so freaking soon. But we'll see here. So let's move on here to, actually it's going to be the last tech story, and it's more AMD. So I'm sorry for all of you Intel fanboys that are listening there. But along with all these crazy announcements, there's actually one more leak from AMD. AMD just loves to keep us on our toes. And this was actually leaked 8 hours ago.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Hot off the press.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So, this leak is actually for the AMD Ryzen 4000 series desktop APUs. And so we got more details on that. There's already Ryzen 4000 series, quote-unquote, mobile chips. But those are actually just Ryzen 3000 chips that have been made special for laptops and for mobility use. So they're not really Ryzen 4000 CPUs. They're like 3000 mobile. But there's the newest generation of Ryzen chips with GPUs integrated into them. And so we'll see what those are. But according to the the leaks on what happened here, there was people that kind of snooped around and kind of had to go on some websites to grab like what are those things called, the benchmarks, because developers have to benchmark the CPUs and they have to post the numbers on that in order to gather data. And so some people were kind of snooping around there, and there was a Ryzen 4000 APU that was reportedly tested with a system using AMD motherboard that appeared under the Arctic codename, which could point to an unreleased chipset for a motherboard, so that was cool. The processor was paired with DDR4 3200 megahertz speed RAM, so you don't see that with mobile, like laptop RAM. You just don't see that. So it's definitely a desktop processor that they're testing there. And with that, it's just speculated that this new APU is going to be backwards compatible with AMD's 300 and 400 series motherboards with a firmware update. As far as the specs that was listed for this particular APU, the CPU features a 3 gigahertz base clock with a performance somewhere between a Ryzen 5 4600U and a Ryzen 7 4700U, which are the laptop APUs right now. What couldn't be taken from the data was the exact design of the iGPU, so the graphics processor that's lives right next to the CPU die on the chip. But it was operating at a 1.2 gigahertz clock speed, and it says that the graphics performance was allegedly slower than a Renoir chip with 6 Vega compute units. So this new APU, it sits somewhere in between where the current APUs for laptops are sitting, and the gigahertz 1.2 on the iGPU is really good, because usually for integrated graphics it's like 800 megahertz, 900 megahertz. The one in my APU right now, which is a Ryzen 3, I don't even remember it now. The Ryzen 3 2200. I believe the max I can boost it to is like 1.1 gigahertz. So the fact that this mystery APU was operating at 1.2 gigahertz, that's probably like the base clock or a slightly boosted clock, leads me to believe that it could be pretty beefy. So for an APU, right? Like APUs are never that strong of graphics processors, but something is better than nothing. And I gamed on that. I gamed on that CPU for a while. And it wasn't the best. I had to tone down my settings a little bit, but it got me by. It got me gaming for sure.
I was gonna say, but it's nice to have when you're looking to budget build, especially, like even just to hold you over.
Yeah, that's a good transitioning period. And then that's the other thing. Historically speaking, the AMD Ryzen APUs have performed fantastic whenever you pair them with an actual video card on the computer, because you've basically freed up the CPU to do its own computing thing, and it doesn't have to focus on trying to do power delivery to the GPU integrated on the CPU. And so basically the CPU is let free and it lets the GPU do its thing, and they're great performers either way. So again, it's a good, like you said, it's a great way to hold you over until you can actually afford an actual graphics card for your gaming PC. But yeah, I'm all AMD'd out. That's all the tech news that I have to share with you guys for this week.
Alrighty, sir. Well, then I will take over because I got some doozy stories.
Woo!
All right. Well, I'm going to start off with the only downside story we have, which is something I was looking so forward to. Death Stranding has been delayed on PC until July.
No.
It was originally supposed to come out June 2nd, but amid, coronavirus, obviously they need a little more time to work on it.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's only a month because I feel like I've been waiting forever for this game because obviously I'm not a PlayStation guy. I'm Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
So I'm just counting down the days, man.
Soon, hopefully.
I've managed to avoid spoilers this far, and I'm gonna just have to keep doing it.
Yeah, and by spoilers you mean you haven't seen gameplay, you don't know what the experience is like, you've avoided reviews.
I've seen the character trailers for Mama and what's his name? I don't even remember. Deadman, I think. But
it's been that long.
The delay is until July 14th, so not too bad, like I said. But hopefully, they're actually able to get it out on that date and it doesn't see a further delay. I would assume if they're only pushing it out a month that they would have just about everything done and they're just fine-tuning and checking things to make sure everything's good.
Yeah.
But only time will tell, sir. Next up, surprising, PAX West is actually still being planned for September. They have not canceled it, and organizers say that they are going to follow CDC and WHO recommendations. But for now, the show is on schedule.
Woo! Good news.
I'm not sure how to feel about this. I'm stoked on one hand because, it's happening, but on the other hand, I don't know if it's too soon.
Yeah.
Because it's in September, which I know is a ways away, but it's going to come so fast.
Mm-hmm.
With all the news saying that, they think there's going to be a second wave of it that's going to hit harder, I'm not certain that this is going to stay going on, but I'm glad that they're still planning it because you don't want to just cancel it and then actually have been able to do it and just scramble at the last second.
Yeah.
However, I'm curious because I know a lot of people are really scared of coronavirus. So I'm wondering if even if it does stay on, how many people are actually going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. The selfish side of me wants it to happen no matter what, but the logistical side of me wants to believe that it's okay to cancel it because we don't want people to die.
Yeah.
But man, I'm just tired of hearing things canceled, man. Like I was telling you before the show, I got a concert in July that I got tickets for, and I want that to happen, and I haven't heard anything about that. We've already seen, Computex canceled. We've already seen Mobile World Congress canceled. We've seen what are the things that we've listed canceled already?
Just on here, let's see. We got canceled GDC, Eve FanFest, QuakeCon, E3, and most recently Gamescom.
Oh, Comic-Con was canceled too.
Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con. That's another thing that happened this last week.
For the first time in years, I want to say.
I want to say it was the first time ever.
Ever?
That's what I remember hearing on one particular article that I just glanced by. That San Diego Comic-Con was canceled for the very first time.
I do want to say I heard that they were doing something, though, that not a lot of other places were, which I really respect. I want to say it was Comic-Con, to where if you already bought tickets, you can either refund or just have them roll over to next year.
Woo, that's what I do. I just have it roll over.
Yeah, because, that's way more convenient. Why wouldn't... Especially when they're, harder tickets to come by.
Yeah, they're really hard tickets to come by.
So,
they sell out in an instant, and they're also expensive.
If you can secure that spot, why not?
Yeah.
I honestly don't see why more places didn't do it, because I could understand a lot of people taking that deal.
Yeah, I would.
For sure.
In a heartbeat.
Another part of me on this PAX West thing is wondering if so many people are scared to where they're not selling a lot of tickets, would they just straight up cancel it, or you think they'll sell tickets way cheaper?
Ooh. I think they wouldn't miss out on money. I think they just sell tickets way cheaper.
Honestly, if they sold tickets way cheaper, and I had the funds, I'd feel pretty inclined to go.
Oh yeah, for sure. San Diego's like what, an 8-hour drive from here?
Yeah, if that, like 7, I think.
6 if you're driving fast like I do in my car. But that'd be so worth it. I'd give it a hard look at for sure. Every article that I look up for Comic-Con, by the way, just says that it's canceled for the first time in 50 years. And it doesn't say when the last time it was canceled was.
So at least 50 years.
Yeah, at least 50 years. So it's been 50 years since Comic-Con has been canceled. But like I said, I can't find, maybe Comic-Con is 50 years old. Then they just celebrate the anniversary here or something. I want to say they did, last year.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And then a statement written by organizers for PAX. They say, we tend to be pretty quiet this time of year, but since we've had some questions from fans and exhibitors, we wanted to let everyone know that as of this moment, we're still planning on putting together a great PAX West this coming Labor Day weekend, September 4th through 7th.
Oh my gosh, that's Labor Day weekend?
And we will be updating our website with more information on badges and hotel registration in the coming months. Our first priority is always your safety, and that extends to issues of public health. As the year progresses, we will continue to monitor the situation and work with health officials at all levels of government and intend to follow all CDC and WHO guidelines as they are released. That said, actions already taken by our convention center and local government have left us optimistic, and we will continue working with them to make sure we take the correct steps throughout the summer. So that I want to say that's honestly like the first big event that hasn't been canceled, because every other big event they're saying they said conventions they don't see going on until fall of next year.
Right.
So if PAX actually happens, it's going to be a big deal, and if people aren't scared to go, it could be one of their biggest years, I would say.
Yeah.
But it also depends on, what companies are going to be showing up as well.
Yeah. Usually there's lots going on for PAX. So as long as it's happening and everyone's on board with it, it should be fairly successful. I also think that it's really past that summer phase of the whole coronavirus thing, because summer in the heat, that's when people are traveling, that's when people are visiting each other, that's when the heat and the warmth is where bacteria and basically microbodies like to flourish and grow in, from what I understand. So once we're past that and once we're into the fall season, and then the temperature starts to drop a little bit, it's harder for bacteria and microbodies to really multiply at the same rate.
And another thing that makes me think that they potentially might not sell a lot, if at all, is the media is already saying, like I said, that they think there's going to be a second wave of this, and depending on how fast or how slow that actually hits, PAX West happens right around normal flu season.
Yeah.
So people are going to be thinking they have coronavirus when they have the flu.
Yeah. Another panic right there.
I mean, time will tell.
Yeah.
But enough about PAX. Next up, Nintendo has announced the final update for Super Mario Maker 2. And it is an update that is going to add a whole bunch of stuff for free, including World Maker, which honestly is the one thing that I've heard that makes me want to buy a Switch besides Animal Crossing.
Understandably so.
Basically, with this update, with the World Editor, it will let people create 8 worlds that all have 5 levels, and up to, which would make it a game of up to 40 levels that just people can make and put out, basically creating their own Mario game in a sense. Along with this update, they are going to be releasing all the, I believe they're Koopalings. King Koopa's like kids.
Yeah.
And
named after rock stars.
And they all have like their own unique moveset that you can put as bosses of these worlds, which is even cooler. Along with this, they are also including several new enemies and power-ups, including the frog suit from Super Mario Brothers 3, which lets you like swim faster and better. The power balloon from Super Mario World, and a mushroom that turns characters into their Super Mario Brothers 2 sprites and lets them throw items around.
Lots of fun. Super Mario Brothers 2 is a game that I never really played, but the few minutes that I have played of it was really enjoyable.
I honestly could not get into that one.
It's really weird. It's one of the weirder Mario installments as far as like seeing where Mario came from, and then 2, and then the game right after that.
I'm sure it's a great game, but as someone who went from 1 to 3 and then later went back to 2 expecting that 1 and 3 gameplay, I was just like, what the is this?
It's strange. It really is. It just feels like it's a whole different game. Even the way it looks
it literally
weird.
feels like a knockoff that just didn't get in trouble for using the Mario.
Yes, it feels like a knockoff, dude. That's actually a really good description. It really does.
I am super excited about this update. However, I know that Super Mario Maker didn't sell really well, so I'm not sure if, especially this being the last update, if this is going to be like the end of this game for certain, or if they have maybe a Mario Maker 3 in the works with, you know, the Mario's anniversary coming up. So we'll see with that. Next up, sir, we got Call of Duty Mobile launching a $1 million tournament.
Woo! Are you gonna play? I'm not gonna play.
I'm gonna see if I can get in. I'm gonna see what the requirements are, because I want to say it sounds like you need to be like a high rank in the game, and I haven't played the game since it came out because it felt too easy.
I remember you telling me about that.
That being said, I don't know how many people are gonna jump on this and how many people are actually super good at it, but I definitely am gonna try and get in.
Yeah.
Because I mean $1 million.
Yeah. What would you do with $1 million? I know what I'd do with $1 million.
It says Activision will be hosting a Call of Duty Mobile tournament with more than $1 million on the line. The Call of Duty Mobile World Championship 2020 will begin on April 30th as an online esports event. The tournament is being co-sponsored by Sony. Eligible Call of Duty Mobile players who are ranked veteran or higher, so I'd probably have to do a lot of grinding in 8 days.
Yeah.
We'll be able to take part in Open Qualifier Stage 1 from April 30th to May 24th. You must be at least 18 and in good standing with the game without any open or undisclosed violations. You also can't use any external devices that modify game controls without the consent of the tournament administration.
Ooh.
Meaning, I'm guessing that means like no Bluetooth controllers to your phone. I know I tried a Bluetooth controller when they first added support, and it was horrible.
Latency. Bluetooth input latency.
The latency
really
was horrible. I was like, oh my god.
Yep, I can see that.
To take part, just click sign up in the game, and your first 10 ranked matches will be used to determine your tournament points. If you reach 80 points in any weekend during the first stage, you qualify for the second stage. You'll earn rewards for registering, progression through the qualifier, and an additional reward if you qualify. Those qualifier rewards will be swapped every weekend, so even if you've already made it, it will be worthwhile to check back. See, details on Stage 2 will be shared at a later date through the official site. I know you're not much of a shooter guy. I know you play Warzone, but are you inclined to try this? I mean, that's a lot of grinding in a small amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, the way you make it seem is that everyone sucks in that game. So, like, if everyone sucks, then I have a pretty good chance of being competitive.
I don't know how many mobile pros are out there. I know I see people stream mobile sometimes. However, I don't know, man. It's like such a unique thing. As far as I know, there hasn't really been any other mobile esports events.
No. Except, not even TFT, really, because there's no, like, esport for it. As far as I know.
I want to say they do have smaller tournaments of that.
Yeah,
now.
They usually have, like, events. I know, like, when it first came out, there was, like, a huge, like, showcase match between a lot of the the streamers, the popular League streamers that kind of hopped on a TFT. But yeah, mobile esports looks like they're trying to incentivize it for sure. I'm intrigued for sure.
Next up, another Nintendo story. Nintendo to increase Switch production to meet high demand amidst COVID-19 pandemic. This is a great story for the simple fact that, have you even looked into trying to get a Switch right now?
No, but my trainer at work, my coworker, who's there, we're the only two at the office right now, in like this huge building that's usually filled with like 50 people. But he recently tried to buy a Switch, and he went to Best Buy, saw one for sale, thought about it for 10 minutes, went to buy it, and it was out of stock. And he had to go the next day and then buy it. He had to wait till the next day when it was in stock. He did get it, but that alone kind of led me to believe, like, oh, like people are having trouble buying Switches right now.
They are selling out everywhere so fast, and people are using like I personally don't know the name of the programs, but like where they're sniping the online shops with their computers. As soon as they're in stock, they have it auto buy.
Yep.
And they're doing that, and Nintendo can't keep up as of now. I mean, they're gonna now press out more, but basically people were doing that and then selling them for double the price because you couldn't get them anywhere.
Yeah, so scalpers.
I literally seen a Nintendo Switch Animal Crossing version on Facebook Marketplace of all places for $700.
Jeez, not worth, man. Not
like,
worth.
Just wait.
Yeah, be patient. You can survive without a Nintendo Switch for a month or two.
Let's see.
That's whack, dude.
Yeah, dude. Let's see here. Console demand generally tapers off, but the Switch is booming in no small part because, of course, the new Animal Crossing.
Yeah, which is a huge hit.
Yeah, it's currently topping the NPD sales charts. This is partly thanks to increased demand from people looking for something to do at home, coupled with a global increase in gaming playtime, which is up 45% in the United States alone. Obviously led to a surge in Switch sales.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like in our town, not everybody's going out to buy them. Like, I feel like if I looked for 15 to 20 minutes, I could find one. But obviously in bigger cities, this is a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So it's good to see Nintendo pushing these out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also super excited because I've really been itching to buy a Switch, man. So bad.
It's always in the front of your mind there because it's in the news.
Yeah.
And Animal Crossing too, like...
It would literally be the first Nintendo system I've owned since 3DS, and before 3DS was a 64.
Jeez. Okay, so... I've only ever owned one Nintendo console, and that was a Game Boy Advance.
Wow.
Not the Game Boy, not the Game Boy Color, not the Game Boy Advance SP, not the Game Boy Micro, whatever weird console that was, and no one ever bought. But the Game Boy Advance, dude. That's the only Nintendo console I've ever owned.
I guess technically I've had Game Boys, however, I never had them when they were super relevant. Like, I had them in high school when you could buy them for $15.
Yeah, I know, dude. Those were the days. I'd love to have like a mint condition Game Boy SP, Advance SP. Dude,
but like in terms of relevancy, it was I had an NES, a Nintendo 64, 3DS, and then now I want to Switch.
Yeah. It's okay to skip that many generations. I mean, I don't feel like we missed a ton out like on the Wii and the Wii U.
Yeah.
Those were like transitory consoles, I feel.
All to put out this Switch.
Yep. Worth it, I think.
Let's see, and then I'm going to go ahead and do one last story, sir. The best-selling games of March 2020.
Ooh, okay.
Can you guess what number one is?
Games?
Yes.
Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Of course.
The most surprising thing about that is when it comes to Nintendo, they don't report their digital sales numbers.
Really?
And Animal Crossing was still number one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a dominating number one from Animal Crossing. I wasn't sure if it was Animal Crossing because I forgot when it came out. I didn't know if it was like beginning of April or if it was in March, but I guess my guess was correct.
Yeah, it says the NPD Group has announced its numbers for the best-selling games of March 2020 in the United States, which tracks physical games and a portion of digital sales. Animal Crossing New Horizon rose to the top of the all-platform chart, beating out Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which fell to second. MLB The Show 20, which is a surprise to me, because I don't see many people buying baseball games, and I want to say MLB The Show 20 is actually the last one that's going to be exclusive to PlayStation.
Oh, really?
So the fact that that placed that high, a baseball game, that's an exclusive.
Who's buying baseball games? Go play baseball.
Resident Evil 3 and NBA 2K20 rounded the rest of the top 5.
Resident Evil?
Resident Evil 3, sir. Yep.
That's a surprise. It's a good game. It's a good game for sure. But I feel like it was like fizzled. I feel like it was like a soda that was shaken up and then opened like months ago.
I want to say it sold a lot due to the hype from Resident Evil 2 remake. However, it was a major letdown to the people who played Resident Evil 2 because it felt the same to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still looking forward to snagging it because I didn't play Resident Evil 2 remake except for like their little demo.
Yeah. Now, Resident Evil 3 is the one with Nemesis, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. By the way, Game Boy Advance SP $180 on eBay right now. I'm not going to be buying it anytime soon.
So, I'm going to go ahead and read off the top 20. Obviously, number 1, Animal Crossing New Horizons. 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. 3, MLB The Show. Resident Evil 3. NBA 2K20. Doom Eternal, which placed 6th, and that one also did not include digital sales. Persona 5 Royal. Here's a surprising one that it's still in the top 10 this far after it's come out. Grand Theft Auto 5.
Wow.
Is number 8, beating out Borderlands 3 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yo, someone at Rockstar Games fucking sold their soul to Satan, man, because their games are just immortal. Holy shoot.
Neo 2 at 11, Red Dead 2 at 12.
There you go.
FIFA 20, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, Madden NFL 20, Just Dance 2020, Jedi Fallen Order, Mortal Kombat 11, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
I'm curious to see if, when they release the sales for April, if Animal Crossing is still number 1.
Yeah, I think it will. Honestly, I think it will. I don't see any compelling game release in April that could dethrone Animal Crossing because it's just so memed, it's so loved, it's so talked about. I just don't see it happening.
You can't go anywhere without saying Animal Crossing right now.
Right. I think the only thing that could really dethrone it if it comes out in April is Biomutant. That's a joke. I wish. I don't even know if it's still in production. I Google it every month. I'm like, is Biomutant canceled? And no one has an update. The latest update was 2 months ago.
I just think about the SpongeBob meme. Who's looking up Biomutant at 3 a.m.?
Me? Oh boy, 3 a.m. That's actually me though with Biomutant. But yeah, I think Animal Crossing is still going to be number 1 at the end of April, easily. That's my prediction is that it will easily be number 1. There will be no contest.
And then in terms of number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, that came as a bit of a surprise. I know Call of Duty sells well. However, I don't think it would have placed as high as it did were it not for Warzone.
Yeah, that's the inflator right there, I feel.
Because even if like people downloaded Warzone, obviously it doesn't count towards the game purchase, but playing it, you know, you gotta get that like, man, this is really fun. I wonder what the actual game's like. Maybe I'll just buy it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like interactive advertisement, basically.
Yeah, smart advertising, trying to get people to buy things. And then if you buy the actual game, I'm pretty sure you get actual in-game stuff for Warzone too. I know that's the case. I don't know exactly what you get, but I know that's the case.
I know you don't have an individual launcher for Warzone. It comes like in the actual game itself, like its own menu. Being that I own the game, I don't know if you can customize loadouts in just Warzone. I know when you buy the game, like your online multiplayer loadouts are what you can buy in supply crates.
Yeah.
On Warzone.
That costs like what, $10,000?
Yeah, $10,000 now after they nerfed them to the ground.
Because they were 6,500, weren't they?
I want to say they were cheaper than. Were they 6,500 to start? Yeah, and then they got pushed to 8,500, and now 10,000.
Yeah, jeez,
ridiculous. You could revive both of your teammates or get your own guns.
Yeah, with your own perks. We'll see. Depends who's getting carried, right?
But sir, that is all of the gaming news I have today. Made up for the last week for sure, because last week I didn't have jack
That happens. It happens. I mean, I feel like last week's game, tech news was lackluster as well. Update here: the most expensive Game Boy Advance Micro that I could find is a first edition Final Fantasy Game Boy Micro. And it is going for $555 plus shipping on eBay. But man, that's a pretty little Game Boy Micro, dude. I have it on display.
Oh man.
Yeah, but if you're not looking to blast $550 on a 20-year-old console, that's a Game Boy Micro. You can get the Super Famicom Edition Game Boy Advance Micro for only $310, which is also a pretty little Game Boy Advance Micro, and it looks pretty sweet. So, listeners, if you want to look that up, the Famicom Edition, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, so that's that. I think we should take a moment to talk about LCS, since the spring split finals have concluded. We can talk about what we thought of those. I watched some of it. I don't know if you watched any of it, but that's definitely talking points and some off-season news already, and some rumors going on with some players in the LCS.
And then there's one that I was actually trying to find as you brought up LCS. There was a recent roster change that I heard.
Oh, really?
And I can't find it, and I forgot what player it was, but okay. I know it was a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one, so maybe when I bring it up here... first, we'll talk about the Spring Split Finals, though, of Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm gonna bring up the scoreboard here. That way I can refer to it. I already know the outcome, but I want to, find some details here about that I would like to recall. Because, like I said, I didn't really pay attention to it, so I do have to recall some details here. By the way, Cloud9 beat FlyQuest 3-0 to be the undisputed North American Spring Split champions.
Of course.
So, and C9 Blabber, their jungler, he did win a Spring Split MVP, so congrats to Blabber. He has been doing lots of work on Cloud9, and he has proved himself more than a capable replacement for Svenskeren, which last season was considered the best jungler in NA, like, bar none. So, props to Blabber on that. The game 1 of C9 versus FlyQuest, the game ended with a 10k gold lead in Cloud9's favor, 75k to 65.2k on FlyQuest. The kills were 21 and 13, towers were 9 and 3. It was 2 Barons on Cloud9's side and 4 Dragons. Meanwhile, FlyQuest had no Barons and 2 Dragons. As far as the heavy carry of that game, it was definitely Sven on Misfortune on Cloud9 with 8 kills, 2 deaths, and 5 assists.
Nice.
Yeah, 407 CS, by the way. Beaten only by FlyQuest's mid laner, Power of Evil, on Azir with 409 CS. So, wild things there going on in Game 1. Game 2 was even more of a stomp. I think I saw Game 2 in its fullness, actually. But that game ended with almost a 20k gold lead on Cloud9. Cloud9 ended the game with 63.3k gold, and FlyQuest had 47.5k gold. So, absolutely nuts. Kills were kills were 24-6.
Never surrender.
Never surrender. Yeah, that's what FlyQuest is saying. Oh, they took down all our inhibs. We get free farm. Yeah, so 24 kills to 6, 10 towers to 2, 2 barons and 4 dragons on Cloud9's side. Meanwhile, FlyQuest had 0 inhibs, 0 barons, 0 dragons. So domination there from Cloud9. Biggest carry, again, Sven, who was playing Callista bot. 9 kills, 0 deaths, 9 assists, by the way. Licorice on set also had an amazing game. He was 6-1-8 as set. Over on FlyQuest side, Ignar, their support, was not having a good game. He was 0-5-2. And consequently, Wild Turtle was 0-3-1. So stomped by Cloud9 in game 2, and in game 3 it was not that much different. Cloud9 beat FlyQuest to win the championship with a 10k gold lead, 54.5k to 44.6k. Kills were 16 and 10, so a little closer. But check this out. This is actually really impressive. Cloud9 took 10 towers off of FlyQuest. FlyQuest did not take down any towers.
In all 3 of the games?
In game 3.
Oh, I was like, 3. Oh my god.
Yeah, third game, FlyQuest did not take any towers. They did not take any inhibs, no barons, no dragons. Yeah, meanwhile, Cloud9 had 4 dragons, so they had the Dragon Soul. They had 1 baron. They took down 1 inhibitor, by the way. So they won by killing 1 inhibitor, just barreling down through the lane. Basically, you can credit a lot of that to Licorice. In the top lane is Aatrox. He went 6-1-6. Also, rather impressive was Niski's Rumble, who went 5-3-10. So lots of assists there from Niski. It was just not a good game for anyone on FlyQuest. The one who probably did the most impressive was Santorin on his Jungle Pantheon, who went 4-4-3. Followed very closely by Power of Evil Syndra, who went 3-3-5. So FlyQuest going out on a whimper here, giving Cloud9 the NALCS Spring Split Championship crown. And with that, Sven, their ADC, is the first player ever to win a championship in Europe and in North America.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, so that's a nice little trophy that he's got for himself there. That's something that Broxa on TL wanted to do as well, but Sven beat him to it, so...
Probably super salty.
So, he's definitely salty about that. Again, congratulations, Cloud9. Moving on to the next topic, though, it's really just one topic that I want to talk about because it's really the talk of the NALCS right now. But rumor is that Doublelift is out on trade from Team Liquid. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It came as a surprise because when I think Doublelift, he's not someone that personally I would want off of my team.
Yeah.
However, I wasn't following the games super close this past split, so I don't know how well he did overall, but normally when you think Doublelift, you don't think of him having bad games.
Right. I've been kind of following this throughout the whole spring split, and there is this whole drama really about Doublelift saying that spring split was not important, and him kind of reflecting that in his gameplay throughout this whole spring split, and that's kind of why we saw Team Liquid not even make it to the playoffs for spring split. From what I understand, Broxa coming over to NA to play for Team Liquid was because he wanted to prove he was good. He wanted to prove that he was a dominant force in Team Liquid, and thus in North America as well. So you kind of have this interesting dichotomy within Team Liquid in Doublelift being kind of like the poster boy for Team Liquid, and then having this ID gaff attitude about the split, and then you have Broxa, who came all the way from Europe, who had all these visa issues, and then came here to play and essentially fed for the spring split. So and a lot of people's thoughts are that Doublelift is being unfair to Broxa because Broxa is really competitive and he's a really good jungler. Mm-hmm. And that they had a crappy split because of Doublelift's attitude, and that kind of spreading to the whole team. And so I think that's the big driving issue, if it's true, with Doublelift being up for trade.
Definitely. Because, I mean, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And even though he is a strong player, if he's not carrying, he's definitely not trying, meaning it's definitely costing them some games.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, only time will tell. We'll see if he's actually up for trade and who he can be traded for, really. If you had to say he would be traded to a team, which team would you say he would go to?
Well, sources say that supposedly Liquid is working to finalize a deal that will send Double Lift back to TSM.
Yeah. That's wild, huh?
That is wild.
That would be super interesting here because I don't know. I don't keep track of import slots on teams, but I do know that Kabe is an import, and he's TSM's. He's their ADC. I do know that on Team Liquid, Broxa is an import. I think Impact is not an import anymore. And I think Jensen is no longer an import as well, but I think Core JJ is still counted as an import. So those are 2 import slots. So would they bench Broxa? Would they bench, who would they bench between Broxa and Core JJ in order to bring Kabe on from TSM? Or would they trade them for like TSM's Academy, ADC, or even crazier in my opinion, would they bring on Tactical, who subbed in for Double Lift when he was benched for a couple games earlier in the split, and then have Kabe like on TL's Academy team?
That'd be nice.
That would be nuts. That'd be absolutely nuts. Only time will tell. I mean, I can see Double Lift going back on TSM. It's going to be weird because TSM's trash right now. And from what I remember, there was some interesting issues with, with just conflicting personalities on TSM when Double Lift was there between himself and Bjergsen, just because they're 2 really big superstars that demand a lot from their teams as far as playstyle goes. So we'll see, man. I mean, TSM could definitely do brighter days. I mean, last time they were super successful was when Double Lift was on their team. So I don't know. We'll see. We really have to see, because I don't see Double Lift going anywhere really else. Cloud9 doesn't want Double Lift for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll play for FlyQuest. I don't think he'll play for, I don't think he'll play, maybe EG Double Lift. Maybe.
I don't imagine a lot of teams clamoring for him if he's really putting it out there that certain splits don't matter to him. Yeah. Because I feel like if you're a team manager, you want your team to perform at their best all the time.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like, who wants him, right? I could see Double Lift going to EG. I could see Double Lift going to TSM. Those are my 2 picks for Double Lift being traded over. Then again, I forget off the top of my head who EG's ADC is. I feel really bad. I know that Zazel is the... I pretty much know everyone on EG from memory. I know that top lane you have Kumo, jungle you have Svenskeren, support you have Zazel, and then mid you have Jizuke. But their ADC is someone who fails my memory, and I feel so bad because I know it's someone at least semi-relevant. But I don't know. I'd have to Google it. I'd have to Google who EG's ADC here. I know when I look it up, I'm gonna be super mad. But it's something that I have to swallow my pride for sure. Bang! Freaking World Championship SKT ADC, and I forget his name.
He's just some guy.
Yeah, just some guy, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see Bang being traded over. Again, it would be an import slot trade for TL. But I can definitely see, Double Lift being EG Double Lift. So we'll see.
Dude, what would be funny, but I would imagine they don't have the money.
Who? CLG?
Dignitas.
Yeah, because they blew their entire budget on Huni, who sucks. And he has for a while now. He has like 2 good carry games the entire freaking split, and then he sucks ass the rest of it.
Watch Dignitas just go through a complete roster change and dominate next split.
And the top lane, we have Double Lift. Mid, we have Huni. It'd be wild, dude. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see there. But that's really all the league stuff I have to talk about this week.
I think that's pretty much it for me as well, sir.
Cool. And we're right around the hour and 10-minute mark, so that would mark the natural end of our podcast. So we'll go ahead and do our outro as we usually do, with our usual thank you to all of our listeners and to our subscribers on our YouTube channel. We have grown from 2 subscribers, me included, to 5 this week. So thank you to everyone who's subscribing to our YouTube channel. Make sure if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel to do that, because that's where we post our updates. Or if you prefer to not have it on YouTube and listen through Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever it may be, go ahead and follow our anchor.fm page there, and it will link you to whichever podcast medium you wish to listen on. But yeah.
And if you don't feel like sharing, leave a review, because I mean, the more reviews we have, the easier and more out there it puts us for other people, even if you don't share.
Yes. So, exciting stuff going on for the podcast. We're still doing the Chipotle giveaway. We're waiting for the right time for that to happen.
I feel like it's got to be the end of quarantine.
Yeah, like a big celebration or something. I do have 2 Chipotle gift cards, so we may just give away 2 of them at the same time for quarantine, for post-quarantine celebration. So that's always an option here. But stay tuned. We're also gearing up for a hardware update for our podcast here. So we're going to be getting new mics. We're going to be getting a preamp. We're going to be doing the full studio monitoring setup here pretty soon.
Professional AF.
Yeah, so that's going to be real fun. So I'm also hard at work at trying to get my own place again. That way we can have a little podcast set up there, because I know that would be really, really cool. Because I get like soundproofing boards on the wall and stuff like that. So it's like I really miss that little setup there. But yeah, nonetheless, we also are working on some merch. I have been working on some merch, seeing with some t-shirt designs and trying to get the logo on a couple t-shirts, maybe some embroidered hats. That'd be really cool. Some mugs would be really cool. Yeah, sip your coffee. Let's talk about it. Podcast coffee. I'm trying to see what we can do to have the logo on something like taco related, like maybe like a hot sauce or something. I think that could be really, really cool.
That'd be tight.
Yeah. Like, let's talk about it. Taco sauce. But those are all things that we have planned later. We'll let you guys know as soon as we have some of that ready. If you would like to participate, that'd be great, because this stuff ain't cheap. So if you want to buy like a shirt or a hat or maybe even some hot sauce, let us know. But for now, we're going to let you go. We're going to let you enjoy your peaceful quarantine. We'll enjoy ours. And again, thank you for listening. And we are peacing out.
Later.